Should be live.
Yeah, I see it.
It says streamed 4 seconds ago. It doesn't say that I'm live.
Well, I just got a notification that you're live. Yes, you are live.
Okay.
You're
All
live.
right, we're live. All right, cool.
Yes, you are live.
Okay, yep.
You're
All
live.
right, we're live. Let me mute this. And Evan Wade is with us already. Okay. Is that an ear emoji? Evan, can you hear us? Is our audio good? We've had some audio issues in the past, so give me a little feedback. That would be much appreciated.
He may be driving. He said something about it being on his drive home. Oh, he gave us some signs.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're good. It's the audio is good. Everything.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, well, here we are again. It's Friday at 7 o'clock. It is September 6, 2019. Welcome, everybody. Conspiracy or not, here we come for your listening displeasure. And I'm here, as always, with the lovely Amy and our pal Gandalf. What's up, guys?
Hey,
Oh.
just chilling, man.
How you feeling, bro? You've been sick, right?
Yeah, I'm starting, I think, to get over this sickness. It's been about a week now, since Saturday, man.
Well, pardon me if you hear me coughing as well. I've just got some mild phlegm, but I'm not sick or anything. I'm just dealing with like a smoker's cough today because I stayed up really late hanging out with some people that needed some shoulder to console.
Aw.
Good friend of ours, I won't mention names, but a good friend of ours is going through a seriously hard time and needed someone to talk to. And so Josh and I were up late, literally like 3 o'clock in the morning. But how you been, Amy?
Oh, I've been hanging in pretty well. You know, nothing exciting happening in my life at the moment. So,
Nothing particularly exciting happening with me either. So let's before we get into tonight's really disturbing topic, why don't we start with that article that Google Snort sent you?
okay, well, let me see if I can let me see if I can figure out how to screen share
Hang
here.
on. You said you dropped the link.
Yeah, in the in the Hangout messages. Over to the left, that little yappy yap box.
This must be something I'm not even heard about yet.
Redirect. Let me try this. Try this again.
Don't you have a little box on the left that looks like a...
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure to open it in a fresh tab. The previous page is sending you to blah 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 npr.org.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the article. All right.
That's it.
So, why the measles surge could open the door to a host of other diseases. Yeah, why indeed? Published September 5th, so that's yesterday.
Would you like me to read it? It's especially this first paragraph and the last that are concerning.
I've got it on my full screen, and everybody should be able to see it. So if you would like to read, you can, or you can read it from my screen.
I'm not seeing anything
It's
from you,
on.
but you're...
It's on my page. I just checked. It's.
Oh, okay.
I'm screen sharing.
Oh, okay. That's right. This way we can't see the screen share. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and read it here. It says, with measles making a comeback in many upper-income countries, including the United States, and still rampant in some poorer nations, such as Dominican Republic of Congo and Madagascar, a leading measles expert is warning of a danger beyond the spread of the disease itself. There's mounting evidence that when a person is infected with measles, the virus also wipes out the immune system's memory of how to fight off all sorts of other life-threatening infections, ranging from gastrointestinal bugs that cause diarrhea to respiratory viruses that trigger pneumonia. Now, doesn't that sound scary? And if you scroll down here, you get to a place where he says, but it's a hypothesis with really good data, right? And at the very end, it says, Mina says, if the immune amnesia, which is what they're calling it, which I might point out sums to 33. If the immune amnesia hypothesis is correct, it's only a matter of time before the recent surge in measles infections produces a concurrent surge in other diseases.
Wait a minute. Are you not reading the whole article? You just jumped down?
Yeah, I just jumped down. Those are the things that I thought were of particular interest in the article.
Well, let's go ahead and cover some of the rest of this. Let's not maybe skip around a little bit too much.
All right. Where do you want me to just read the whole thing then?
The second paragraph starts with a quote. You skipped over that, right?
Oh, yeah, I skipped over that. You want me to read it? I'll read the whole article.
He says, all of a sudden you end up having not just more outbreaks of measles, but you might have more outbreaks of rubella or flu or any number of other diseases, says Dr. Michael Mina, Harvard professor who has authored some of the most groundbreaking research into the so-called immune amnesia effect from measles.
Yes.
Okay. He also plans to sound the alarm this weekend at a conference of vaccine researchers in Bilbao, Spain. In the poorest countries, he says, children could be at substantially greater risk of death. You want to pick it up from there?
Okay.
For instance,
say a 2-year-old girl comes down with a particularly nasty case of flu, complete with a bout of pneumonia, but survives. In the process, her immune system learns how to produce antibodies against that particular virus. The next time the girl comes in contact with it, those antibodies would recognize the pathogen and quash it immediately. But then imagine that at age 4, that same girl comes down with a case of measles that erases her immune system's record of how to produce antibodies against the flu strain she previously contracted. So if she encounters that particular flu virus again, she's back to square one, likely to come down with pneumonia. I love that. Likely to come down with pneumonia all over again.
pneumonia is its own bacterial infection.
Yes.
What's that have to do with the flu? Why would the flu make it likely that you would come down with pneumonia?
It doesn't make any sense. And the fact that they're trying to suggest, I mean, I suppose that before we had the vaccine, we had a fair number of measles cases. And did you notice all the people keeling over from flu and pneumonia?
There were bodies in the street.
Absolutely. I mean, just all over the place because, oh my God, we didn't have vaccines. And just because she managed to survive the first time doesn't mean she'll survive again, adds Mina. Every time, this is a quote I just love. I'm glad we went through this. Every time we don't die from an infection, we can basically think of it as we got lucky. Because most people who get diseases of any kind die immediately.
Yep,
right?
They usually explode or
Absolutely.
spontaneously combust or.
Yep. I mean, it's just amazing. If you get a disease, expect to die in the next week. Oh, So,
And
by subjecting a child to the same infection a second time, measles is basically making you play the lottery again. The lottery. Oh no, it's more like Russian roulette with 5 gazillion bullets, empty bullet slots, and one bullet. I mean, come on, let's get real. Of course, in the wealthier countries, children are far less likely to die of infections because they have better access. Oh, because they have access to better health care. But, says Mina, they're still subjected to other downsides, such as taking antibiotics that can trigger an adverse reaction or mess with the balance of bacteria in their gut. Yeah, well, that's true. Also, as more and more children lose immunity to diseases they fought off at a young age, those diseases could start raging through the wider population. Not just children, but the elderly and adults would be at risk. We could see an increase in the transmission of all these pathogens that shouldn't be spreading past a certain age because normally kids are immune, says Mina.
this
Uh-huh.
almost sounds like a propaganda piece to get everybody to go get all their shots all over again.
That's exactly what it is. Yes. Mina is careful to note that the notion of measles produces immune amnesia is still a hypothesis. But it's a hypothesis with really good data, he says.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ask any flat earther. Their hypothesis has really good data.
yes, about the same amount, I think.
Wow.
For instance, back in the early 1960s, when the measles vaccine was first introduced on a mass scale in many countries, scientists observed that shortly afterward, there was a massive drop in childhood deaths from not just measles, but many other infections. I want to see those data. I do. I'm not believing this. But it wasn't until it.
So simply by what he's saying is, back in the early 1960s, simply the measles vaccine, not any other type of vaccine. They're concluding that was literally the cause of other
Yes.
other
The
deaths,
drop.
the drop in other deaths from other diseases, other
Yes.
infections.
Yes. Yes. In fact, that's basically. I'm guessing that's the really good data that they
Correlation
have.
correlation does not equal causation. Go on.
True. Very much. But it wasn't until 2015 that Mina and his collaborators, that's a good word, I think that sums it up, were able to do a comprehensive statistical analysis of data reaching back to the 1940s. They found spikes in deaths from other childhood infections were directly predicted by measles outbreaks. Okay. Again, I want to see those data. And the effect lasted 2 to 3 years beyond the measles outbreak. Since the publication of that finding in the journal Science, researchers have found additional evidence for the immune amnesia hypothesis. I'm sure if you tweak your data enough, you can find evidence for anything. In 2018, a team led by Rick L. de Stewart of Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam, Netherlands, found that children infected with measles in the United Kingdom were significantly more likely to suffer other infections requiring prescription of antibiotics in the 2 to 5 years following the measles infection. Meanwhile, after decades of decline, measles cases have risen precipitously in recent years due to a combination of hesitancy by parents in wealthier countries to vaccinate their children with toxins and heavy metals and other things, and a breakdown in the health infrastructure in less well off nations. There have been massive outbreaks, often involving tens of thousands of children in Brazil, India, the Philippines, and Ukraine. Last month, the World Health Organization, our dear friends, announced that 4 European countries, Albania, the Czech Republic, Greece, and the UK, had all lost their previous measles free status due to local outbreaks. This spring, the number of cases in the United States topped 1,000. 1,000 out of 300 plus million, okay, people.
Huh. What is that number? Is that like 1/100th of 1%?
That's like a 0.0001.
Yes, that is statistically non-existent, okay? Topped 1,000.
Or as one doctor put it to me, a clinical non-issue.
Exactly. For the first time in more than 2.5 decades. That's only 25 years. And, oh, come now. Anyway, and globally, the total number of cases rose by 300% in the first quarter of 2019 compared to the same period in 2018. 300%. That doesn't tell me how many cases we're talking. And worldwide, we have what, close to 8 billion? And I'm going to bet that the cases are probably maybe 10,000. Maybe. Again, statistically non-existent. Mina says if the immune amnesia hypothesis is correct, it's only a matter of time before the recent surge in measles infections produces a concurrent surge in other diseases. But he's urging public health officials not to wait to find out. Oh, good heavens, no. If someone has been infected with measles, he says, I think we should consider giving them all their childhood vaccines all over again.
Sure.
Okay?
Line up, kids.
Are we seeing just another little brick in the wall of you're going to get jabbed whether you want to or not? And, it's when you look at the ingredients in these things, it's just stunningly ghastly. I mean, it's horrific. They said, we took the mercury out of the vaccines. Well, people have tested them and discovered that actually, no. Yeah, okay, there's a lot less of it, but it's still there. And the amount of mercury that is safe is 0.
Are you looking at my screen right now?
No.
Probably not, because you're reading that article. Check out what I have on my screen right now.
Okay, hang on. I've got to come over here.
I'm looking at the source article. Okay,
I see it.
This was what they cited in the article that you just read. Since the publication of that finding in the journal Science, researchers have found additional evidence for the immune amnesia hypothesis. So I clicked on journal Science. It takes me to this study here. And it's not until, let's see, the bottom of this page, it says, published May 8th of May 2015, volume 348, issue 6235 of the journal Science. But keep in mind this was published May 2015, so look at this graph right here that I'm blowing up here. Let's just focus on England and Wales for right now. The up and down on the left side, it says non-measles infectious disease mortality per 100,000 persons per year. And if I'm not mistaken, on the very left upper side of the graph, that's a number 12.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what, 13 people died that year. Out of 100,000, 13 died. And I'm not putting down any tragedy, any death is a tragedy, especially for like a child or whatever.
Oh, sure.
But, you drop straight down, and the dotted line represents, I'll blow this up again a little bit more. The key in the upper left corner, it says the black line with the black dots is non-measles deaths, and the dotted line are measles cases. So, I'm sorry, but I'm not really
I'm
seeing a
not.
correlation there.
I'm not seeing a correlation either, except that they're dropping. That's basically all I see, and that just might have something to
And
do with I don't know, hygiene.
if you'll notice that down here on the bottom, right where my mouse is, if you can see my mouse,
Not seeing amounts.
1955 to 1960.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I
between
see it now.
so between 1955, we've got a spike, and then it drops down. These are the measles cases, and then we got a spike, and then it drops down, and then we got another spike, and then it drops all the way down, and that's the 1960 mark.
Yep, I see it. And it seems to go in cycles, up and down.
Okay, so if you look at if you go from left to right, starting at number 8, it goes down and up to the very first spike. And right above that spike is a black dot, which is a non-measles death.
Yep.
And they're saying that for a couple of weeks or even months after a measles outbreak, that they get a rise in non-measles deaths. Well, if you see where my mouse is, that middle dot right in the middle of the little Orion's belt looking set of dots, right next to the number 10.
Yep. Yep.
If you notice, after this spike in the measles cases, what happens? It goes down.
Yep.
That would be the opposite of what they're saying.
Yep.
But of course, these bars are going from this is a 5-year period from where this spike is to the next spike to the next spike to the very bottom down drop to the 1960 mark right there. That's a 5-year period. So how can they, maybe this paper explains in further detail somewhere down below, but they're making the case that for weeks or months after, and from this particular
No,
graph
they
that I was
said
just,
years, like up to 3 years.
the article said weeks to months.
Okay, I
The
thought
one that
they
you,
said. I thought they said that maybe I. Let me.
I
I'll go
swear,
back.
I swear, I saw that they said weeks to months. By the way, I should pop the chat out so I can keep an eye on the chat. Let me just, oops, let me just do that real quick. Who do we have in here? 17 watching. Let's see. Let me go back to this article. I want to keep an eye on the chat a little bit.
This article sounds ridiculous, man. Just typical fear-based garbage, trying to get us all up in arms over.
Well, it sounds like it, but I just want to not knee jerk and jump on that bandwagon without really fully understanding the source
Yeah,
information.
it says the effect lasted 2 to 3 years
Oh, it
beyond the
did? Okay.
measles outbreak. Yeah, just below the box that talks about scientists crack a 50-year-old mystery about the measles vaccine. Uh-huh. I I guess that's a link, but I didn't click it. Anyway, yeah, just above where you clicked on the journal Science link.
That was down here. 2000, yeah, well, until 2015, Mean and his collaborators were able to do a comprehensive statistical analysis of data reaching back to 1940s. They're saying comprehensive statistical analysis, but that bar graph that I just looked at, that is not what I call comprehensive. So
No.
maybe this is a fairly long, looks like a long article with lots to sift through. Maybe definitely there's more comprehensive data here. But I mean, look at these other bar graphs, 1945 to 1955. You can't get That's a 10-year period, and you're looking at spike drop, spike drop, spike drop. And if you look at the two lines, I don't see a correlation.
No, I see no correlation. But
Like, look at this one right here.
people who don't really examine what's going on,
It's essentially the
they
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. It's a non-measles infectious diseases mortality per 100,000 per person per year. Uh, Dotted line is reported mortality. Blue line is predicted mortality. Well, they did a terrible job predicting mortality.
oh geez.
So you're looking at what appears to be shitty data.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if I have to just look at this one graph right here, and I don't have time to spend all night sifting through all this, but from what I've looked at so far, it looks like crap. This
Yes.
this is bullshit. I'm sorry, but I
Yes.
mean, I know how to read a fucking graph.
I agree. It's
Reported
bullshit.
mortality, predicted mortality. Somebody was wild with their predictions, and they're all over the place, and there's no correlation whatsoever.
Nope.
In fact, when it goes up, the other one goes down.
And I have to ask why is it always coming in from way at the top? You know, I know that hygiene started becoming the thing fairly.
Yeah, well, think of the time of the period. 1945. This is like, uh,
World War II.
yes, thank you. Um, so yeah, this is really like right around the end of World War II. Okay,
Yep.
so things were shitty for everybody. Things were getting better for everybody. A lot more hygiene, better food, better nutrition. So mortality rates were dropping, and that's what you see with the dotted line. Reported mortality, and that's the dotted line coming way up on the left, dropping way down. The reported mortality dropped.
Yep.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yep.
In a real world sense, that makes sense.
Yeah, especially
But the way
as
they're
more hygiene was practiced.
Now here's a graph, the one right next to it. Best fit gamma transform? What the fuck is that? No transform best fit gamma transform. Okay, see, I don't even know what that means.
That means this is how we bashed our data to
Well,
make it look good,
no,
maybe?
no, no, but if no, but I'm just saying, look at the graph on the right. It's the same time period, 1945 to 65, and there's definite correlation in those graphs.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but like I said, this is, I mean, if they, whatever, I don't know if they went how comprehensive. Looks like they got a lot of shit to sift through here, but I don't know. It's not really passing the sniff test right now. But
No.
I'm not a scientist, and I haven't had time to really go through all this material. So
Well,
I don't want to jump to conclusion. But that article you were reading, that's just strange. And let's not forget that they did make mention at least twice in that article that this is a hypothesis.
yep.
But it's a hypothesis with really good data.
With good data.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh
yeah.
huh.
You can trust us.
Absolutely. We're Harvard. You can trust us. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Gandalf, how you feeling, buddy? You got anything to add to this?
Basically, I don't really believe any of it. I think it's just a new way to scare the living fuck out of people into taking their flu shots and all that, man.
Yep.
I think that honestly, I haven't been sick in years, really, until this past week. I haven't been sick in years, man. So I think the thing is, when I was younger, I used to get sick a lot more often, and that's when I was getting the flu shot every year. which is weird. You'd think that you would get less sick. I was sick maybe once or twice every, I was like sick every third or fourth month, which I think is common for people that are taking the flu shot, and in the time I haven't been taking the flu shot, once a year maybe would I ever get sick, if that.
I used to get a cold of some kind that would ultimately turn into like a sinus infection that would turn into an upper respiratory infection that would linger for like 3 weeks. And I would be coughing up phlegm, like hardcore coughing all day, every day for like 3 weeks, and blowing colorful rainbow colored stuff out of my nose. And it was no doubt, and I could smell the infection. I had a definite sinus infection, and that would occur every single year, sometimes on occasion twice a year. And that's when I was doing like tons of flooring work, but I still do remodeling. So I have my hands, I go into somebody's house and I rip shit apart and I get into dust and dirt and old stuff that's behind cabinets and underneath the cabinets, mold, mildew, and I deal with that shit all the time. And of course I'm a smoker, so I've got this hand to mouth habit, right? Constantly putting stuff in my mouth, constantly putting my hand in my mouth, holding a cigarette, putting a cigarette in my mouth. And one day it just dawned on me, it just occurred to me. It's like, you keep fucking putting these cigarettes in your mouth and you just got done handling some nasty shit. And although it wasn't like greasy, grimy nasty, it was dusty, grimy. So I go outside and my hands were dry and just have a smoke, right? Not a big deal. Well, when I decided to become literally anal retentive about washing my hands, especially when I'm working before I handle a cigarette.
Oh
Or
my god, I'm the same way, dude.
so I stopped getting sick every year, and I went from every year to once every 5 years I would get sick. And I haven't been sick. I haven't had a sinus infection or a respiratory infection or a cold or a flu. I think it's been a good 4 years since I've been sick.
Bro, I've seen, like, I'm talking in the comments about Alberta, and you just reminded me, man, when you're talking about washing your hands. Like, one time, like, so I was working in Edmonton, and, I was laying playground, the rubber on playgrounds, like that
Mm-hmm.
padding, basically, and
Recycled tire.
yeah, yeah. So I was laying playgrounds with that recycled tire stuff. And what we would have to do is, there's like a big mixer on top of the back of the truck, and we would dump in the tires, and we'd also dump in this really nasty, nasty, terrible glue. Like, this was like the most toxic, like fucking nasty fucking glue you've ever seen, man. And fucking you would have to work with the stuff with like fucking big rubber gloves on, because you're not allowed to fucking touch this shit or get it on your skin, because you'll never get it off your hand. It'll take weeks to get it off this shit off you. And one guy I used to work with, he's standing up there mixing the fucking glue into the mixer with the crushed up tires, and he's got the glove on his hand, and he's got a smoke in the hand with the glove on, and he's just fucking standing there smoking. I'm like, holy fuck, Jesus Christ! I don't know how some people do it, man. That shit would make me way too paranoid, man.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
What would you make of a May's ninth ruin?
Rune or ruin?
Ruin.
May's
A,
ninth.
a May's ninth ruin.
A May's ninth ruin. I don't wouldn't make anything of it. Never heard of such a thing. What is it?
Well, I decided to run the name of the author of that article in an anagram site, and that's one thing I came up with. Because I looked at that name and I thought, it just looks like an anagram to me. But there's some other things that are interesting. But at any rate, I just thought maybe somebody might make something of that. It stuck out at me.
Well, I do enjoy a good conspiracy, but you know that I don't put much stock in gematria, and I also don't put much stock in anagrams.
Yeah, I recently purchased
Especially when the anagram sends you down another rabbit hole. It's either going to be a bam spot on, but I don't know. Go ahead, Gandalf.
yeah, I recently bought Zachary K. Hubbard's book. You know, I read it front to cover, and
Front to cover. That must not have taken long.
Yeah, really.
I'm, dude, I'm fucking sick as fuck. So I read it. I read the entire book, and then I proceeded to throw it into a burning fire and incinerated the thing. No, I'm just joking.
You're just joking. You never bought the book. That's the joke.
Fuck that. No, I do not put any stock into the gematria stuff. I think people will, of course, like say like 33. I'm sure they encode 33, but you know, basing your entire worldview on some weird Jewish numbers calculator fucking websites fucking a little out there to me.
Yeah, Amy likes to go deep on the gematria stuff, and
Yeah, I do.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to make fun of Amy, but I'm going to make fun of Amy.
Oh, good. Let's do it.
Michael Mina, the article author and researcher for this article, for the
Yes.
measles article. You were like, oh, 33 or
No, 1330, 13,
oh,
13.
1313, and then you ran it through gematria, and it came up as 88 in English ordinal. Is that what it was?
Yes, yes. Yep. 88. You got it.
Oh, a solus autiste de la putain tuante. I don't speak Spanish, dude. Anyway, I'm just chilling. I'm kidding. He wanted to throw a topic. And Randall Carlson, geometry, ancient measurements. You know what? I could do a show on that. I've got some stuff that from Randall Carlson that I have saved. I've got files on that exact topic, and I can absolutely do a whole show just simply on that topic. In fact, Amy just uploaded. I haven't watched it yet, but Amy just uploaded. She mirrored a video on geomancy. So that's a
Yes.
seriously interesting topic. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was just jaw dropped. I watching that whole thing. I mean, I was like, wow. I mean, when you see it, you will see why.
Yeah, I'm actually interested into
I'll watch
in
it.
the sacred geometry type stuff. I'd actually recommend you guys watching an entire 10-hour documentary called Zero Point. Watch all of its parts. That is some of the most fascinating stuff that's ever been put on YouTube about the codes embedded into the universe itself. Um, Proof of some kind of thought process behind the universe.
Oh! You just made me think of something that I saw today. You guys, you know the number 42, right? From the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? The
Yes,
answer to
yes.
the life
Life,
universe and
life, the universe, and
and
everything.
everything. All right, check this out. They solved the 42 riddle. These guys, these computer geniuses. Let me see if I can pull this up. I might have to open up a new YouTube tab. We're done with this article stuff, right?
Yeah, we can move on.
Let's move on to our main topic.
No, we'll get to the main topic in a second. This is fun. I want to show you this. You got. I'm. I hope I don't get a copyright for this, but I'm going to play at least part of this video. I'm subscribed to a couple of channels that are mathematic based channels like Numberphile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know about or subscribe to channels of that nature, like Crash Course, science based channels, physics based channels. Um, let me see. Let me see. Where did it go? I watched it just this morning from Numberphile. Professor Dave. He's pretty cool. Here it is. It's only a 5-minute video, and I'm only going to play part of it. Let me know that you have the audio, please, in the audience. I got it muted.
drones,
I'll mute the ad. Let me know that you guys can hear this in the audience.
You're wearing it.
I'm wearing it, yep.
Tell me the news.
We found 42.
All right.
Do you want to see what it is?
Yep, all right.
Are you ready? Minus 80538, all cubed.
Okay, just real quick, let me check the chat.
Yeah, I can hear it, dude. I just checked.
You can hear it on my channel. Okay, cool. All right, check this out. I'll go
Plus 8045 cubed. Plus 12631 cubed.
All right. There we go. And why is this significant? Why is 42 a bit of a milestone in this field of endeavor?
So this started a computer search from way back in 1954. They were looking for the numbers up to 100 to see which of them could be represented as a sum of 3 cubes. And we've now just answered that 65 years later.
The sum of 3 cubes. And he said they've been working on this with computers since 1950, did he say 4 or 2?
Now just for the numbers up to 100 from way back in 1954.
54.
They were looking for the numbers up to 100 to see which of them could be represented as a sum of 3 cubes. And we've now just answered that 65 years later.
So this is
65 years later, with all the computers from then till now, they've just solved what 3 cubed numbers can add up to 42.
Be represented as a sum of 3 cubes. And we've now just answered that. Of them could be represented as a sum of 3
I'm
cubes.
not a math
and
person,
we've
dude.
now just answered that 65 years later.
so
Keep going. I want to know where
this
this
was
is
the last
going.
one.
This was the last one, yep. And
Okay.
it takes 17-digit numbers to get there. That's why, of course, they had no hope of ever finding it in 1954.
I saw you recently when you'd found 33, and you used a big computer not far from here at the University of Bristol.
That's right.
Was this one found by the same computer?
No, this is actually much bigger, so we had to go another order of magnitude beyond what I did for 33 to find this. So I actually think the most interesting aspects this time around were sociological rather than mathematical. So after the 33 news, I got lots of offers of help. Had to turn most of them down, actually. The first thing I did was go straight to Drew Sutherland at MIT. He's a world expert at this sort of thing. We teamed up and modified the code to make it run at a much bigger scale. The other thing was we got a big offer of help from Charity Engine. So they harness the power of millions of volunteer PCs.
Did you hear that? It's an organization called Charity Engine, where they harness the power of millions of personal computers, people who volunteer that you can have access to their computer and use the computing power in their computer combined with the computing power of millions of other people signed up to this thing called Charity Engine. And it's basically one massive supercomputer with everybody's computer working together on a single project.
Wow.
And he's wearing the shirt. He says, see over here on the E, that's life, the universe, and on the bottom it's everything, like in the very beginning. He's wearing the shirt. Life, the universe, and everything.
Cool.
42.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
I agree.
Okay, let me just check something real quick. See where we are, just out of curiosity. 19. Come on, I can do better than that. We used to get up to 40 and 50 people watching. I know we've been stagnant for a while, but come on, people. We can do this.
Well, I don't think shouting out to the people who are already
I know,
here
I
is
know,
going
I
to
know.
do anything.
If anything, that's going to make the people start to get the fuck off.
I know.
No,
See,
like
we went down to 18. Oh, we're back up to 19.
the whole thing with YouTube is you really need to be consistent. Like it helps out in the YouTube algorithms, all that. It's all about as many videos as possible. That's kind of the strategy Jason Burmis used to finally grow his channel from 4,000 subscribers, which it's been at for 10 years, and he just hit like I think 35,000.
Wow. I wish I could make videos faster, but I'm like slow.
Okay,
I mean,
so
seriously.
let's talk climate change.
Oh, yes, let's.
Please do. This is I'm really stoked to talk about this.
Well, would you like to start us off? Did you have something to say to kick it off, or I know you mentioned earlier you had plenty on the topic, so did you want to start, or would you want me to
Oh, well,
throw
go.
out some premises, or what?
Yeah, you go first. You go first.
So, one of the things that we've been hearing for several years now is that cattle farming, the beef industry in particular, factory farming, pork, beef, the larger animals in particular, with their flatulence, is one of the main contributors to methane, which is a greenhouse gas. We've all heard this, right?
Yep, we sure
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
I saw a statistic earlier today while I was researching aspects of this topic, and if I remember correctly, they said something like, oh, God, I hope I don't get this wrong. I think it was 2/3. It was a huge number. Two thirds
Mhm.
of 2/3 of arable land is being used for the production of cattle farming. It might be in one of these articles that I'm going to highlight, but it was a ridiculous number. And I've driven literally a 5,000-mile round trip from Atlanta to Wyoming and back down, taking a completely different route. And I drove through hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of miles of arable land. It was a 5,000-mile round trip. And I can remember just driving for 4 or 5 hours straight, have nothing but fields and fields and
Fields and
fields.
fields. Yep.
I mean, I think at one point we were driving through, I think it was Kansas, and we were doing like 75 miles an hour on this absolutely perfectly straight road. And it was it was maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe more if I remember, of nothing but sunflower seeds as far left as I could see and far right as I could see for like 2 hours straight. Nothing but just fucking sunflower seeds, horizon to horizon, front to back for 2 hours straight.
Yep.
Um, and you know what I didn't drive through? Not
Ca-
once.
cattle.
That's right, not once. Not
Yep.
once did I drive through fields of cattle. Not once.
Because they're all down in Argentina, man.
Well, I don't think Argentina is the that huge a percentage of arable land.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive.
Well, I know it's massive, but I think that if you put it together with all the other arable land on this planet, you would discover that it in and of itself is not that huge an amount,
Yeah.
comparatively speaking.
Yeah, but the size of Argentina, northern Argentina, where they grow all their food down there, it's like twice the size of Texas, and they're huge, huge into cattle farming. I know that they are down there. And that's where a lot of beef actually comes from, is down in Argentina.
Well, I'm going to have to see how they came up with that number. And I swear to God, I think they said it was 2/3 of arable land. And I ain't buying it.
Yeah, I don't really buy that either because I do know that in certain areas, yeah, I can believe Argentina would maybe be 2/3, but up here in North America, I hardly, or up here in Ontario, I hardly see any cattle farms.
Yeah,
So,
I know that when I was, used to live in California, you would see some cattle farms, but you would see a hell of a lot more corn and,
yeah,
other veggies. I mean, you'd see a little cattle farm or maybe not so little cattle farm, but then miles and miles and miles of fields.
corn, soybeans, you
So
name it.
yeah, mainly corn and soy, but
And, and,
then,
and let's not forget,
strawberry fields
and
and
let's not forget, oh yeah, all the plants that we grow for everything are all of them, literally all of them. But let's not forget how much corn and soy and grass is grown just to feed the cows.
yep.
So I'm just not buying that. Even if they told me 1/3, I don't think I would be interested in buying that statistic either.
Yeah, I'd say at most 10%.
Yeah,
That's
I,
that's
I,
that's probably about right.
it
I agree.
sounds maybe reasonable to me. I would probably sink my teeth into that stat, but no, no, 2/3, hell no, 1/3. Probably not. Doubt it. Highly doubt it. Maybe 10% ish.
Yep.
Okay, so cow farts. We got a problem with cow farts, they say. Let's never mind the methane that's released everywhere where there's dirt and everywhere where there's mud and everywhere on the planet where something has died and is rotting, because bacteria are the greatest producers of methane
Yes.
by far.
Yes.
I forget the statistic that I heard a while ago about insects alone, not even bacteria, just insects outweigh the entire human population by 1,000-fold, something like that.
Easily.
It,
Easily.
it, it was just an enormous number. The insect population on this planet, pound for pound, outweighs the human population by like 10,000 fucking times. It's disgusting how many more, you know, literally by weight, the insect population. So, and insects, they shit, they fart, they digest things, they have bacteria in their gut.
Yep.
And I mean, you can go to bogs, lakes, oceans, and you can see literally methane bubbles coming up all day long.
Yep.
All day long.
Yep.
Rainforests put out huge amounts of methane because of all the leaf litter and all the rotting vegetation, and even grasslands, because when they cut the grass and the grass dies at the end of the season, it breaks down, bacteria break it down, methane.
Yep.
So I'm not buying that fucking cow fart statistic bullshit either. I should say cow shit. Well,
Yes.
bullshit qualifies.
Yeah, that's a male cow.
Okay, so I'm not even sure which article I should start with here. Here we go. Let's try this. I remember 4 or 5 or 6 months ago, ish, somewhere around there. I saw this article and news story come out. I should be still sharing, and everybody should still be seeing my screen. It's called Impossible Foods, which is, I think, a manufacturer, makes fake meat burgers with plant blood, and they're actually not bad. The company reverse engineered real burgers to figure out how to make synthetic meat tastier. There's a video here. I probably won't play it. Um, Burgers aren't sustainable, the article begins with. One
All
third,
right.
here it is, 1/3 of the planet's arable land, that's where I saw it. This fucking article right here. 1/3 of the entire planet, arable land is devoted to raising livestock. I'm calling bullshit.
Me too.
And the methane produced from animal farming is one of the biggest sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Oh, okay, if you phrase it that way, it's one of the biggest. It depending on how big of a list you're going with, I suppose.
Yes.
Enter Silicon Valley. There are a handful of food startups racing to create the most meat-like plant-based burger replacement imaginable. Companies like Impossible Foods and Beyond Burgers are betting on the fact that the demand for beef will one day outpace what's sustainable to produce, and that today's veggie burgers aren't a delicious enough replacement. Well, that is true. Veggie burgers suck.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty. I agree.
I mean, if you bite into a veggie burger and you got it in your head that you're trying to eat a burger and you're thinking you're going to get that greasy, juicy, blood-filled. I hate to be, gross, but we're going to get gross by the time we're done with this show. But trust me. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A bloody, oily, greasy hamburger, and you bite into a veggie burger that doesn't have the blood or the fat or the grease or the oils. It's just not there.
Yeah.
I mean,
That degree of satisfaction is highly lacking.
yeah. Investors seem to agree. Impossible Foods raised $182 million in venture capital since it opened its operation in 2011, including funds from Bill Gates. Oh, yay.
Oh, joy.
Google Ventures and Lee Lakashing's Horizon Ventures from Hong Kong, and Beyond Burgers, which already has products available for sale at select Whole Foods markets, recently added Tyson's Foods to the largest meat producer in the U.S. to its list of investors. Recode Visible visited the Recode. That's these guys, the article producers from Vox here. Recode visited the Impossible Foods lab in Redwood City, California to try the latest iteration of its burger technology and learn more about how the high-tech patties are made. Impossible Foods isn't just putting black beans and tofu in a blender to create a veggie patty. They hired scientists who work to uncover the exact elements that make beef burgers so delicious. Well, how about we start with fat and grease and blood? Reverse engineering of reverse engineering for flavor and texture. It turns out the main ingredients that gives meat its distinctive meaty flavor is also found in plants. It's a blood-like compound called heme, like hemoglobin, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's related.
So it's a blood-like compound called heme. And although it's more concentrated in meat, the scientists at Impossible Foods have figured out how to isolate it in crops like soybeans and clover. They're also using coconut oil, which melts like beef fat in a hot pan, and
It does.
potato protein to give the burger its meaty texture. Okay, well, fine. Impossible Foods is already served in it's a Nishi, a high-end New York restaurant, and is moving to the left coast. Left coast? Don't you mean west coast?
Probably.
Moving to the left coast this winter, where it will be served in Crossroads Kitchen in Los Angeles and Coxcomb and Jardiniere in San Francisco. There's no word yet on whether it'll be available in grocery stores. Recode spoke with Impossible Foods CEO Pat Brown and chef Dominique Kren at our annual Code conference earlier this year. Listen or watch the full interview to learn more. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so um, I might have seen this video. I'll play a little bit.
Okay,
It's only
so
2 minutes.
this
It's only 2 minutes. I'm not interested in watching somebody eat it and go, delicious. I want to get
Yeah.
I want to get down to the nitty gritty of what they're doing here. There's going to be an ad.
kind of part food company, part tech startup, and they're working on creating
You
a type
need
of
ad
fake
block.
ground beef. They have 182 million.
No, I just
in
noticed that I
venture
crossed
capital
over that
funding,
little yellow
including funding
dot,
from
which
Bill
meant
Gates.
it should have
Now,
been an
I'm
ad.
pretty skeptical because I
Oh,
love
it's
real
a
burgers,
pop-up
but
ad.
we're gonna give it a try.
So it looks like a
in the
hamburger.
Impossible burger. So the muscle to make that texture, that shootout, we have the wheat protein and we have potato protein.
All right, so can I taste the potato?
You can taste the potato. So this has.
What is this? Is this gonna taste like potato?
No, it's going to be a little bit savory.
Tastes like gravy.
Yeah. The heme protein. That's the other key ingredient in what we discovered.
May I?
Yes. Tell
Okay.
me what it tastes like.
I mean, it kind of tastes like blood, like beef broth.
This is what creates all meat flavor and all of plants. And we didn't know.
So there it is, and you saw that it was even red in color. I don't know if they dyed this material or if it's naturally extracted as a red. That's it right there. The heme in that little jar right there looks like blood. I don't know if it naturally is extruded or extracted from plants to come out looking like that, but it's basically it's heme. It's hemoglobin. It's a plant-based blood. And so now,
Yum.
they're making veggie burgers that have more consistency, and a much closer taste to a real meat burger. And if they can do that, fine. I'll try one.
Yeah,
It-
I'd
it-
try one as long as it's gluten free.
Okay, so let me poll. I'm going to do a couple of polls in the audience. I know there's probably roughly 20 people watching. I don't know if we.
23.
I'm going to do a couple of polls tonight. So I would like to ask everybody in the audience if you would try a hamburger, and if you would try one, give me a number one.
You mean try the veggie hamburger?
Yeah, if you would try one of those veggie burgers, just try it. If you would try it, give it a try. Give me a number one. And the reason I'm doing this, and I know it's a simple, innocuous kind of question, and I'm pretty sure everybody would answer, yeah, I would try it. The reason I'm doing this is because I have another question coming up soon that I want to ask if you would try something. And I'm pretty sure everybody's going to give me a number two.
so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, number 2, so to speak. Battle Line says no. No, you wouldn't even try it. You're a meat eater. Okay, cool.
Wade says yes.
James says
Yeah.
3. James is opting for the third option because he doesn't know what's in the damn thing.
Yeah. Well, I
Fair
can
enough.
relate to
Fair
that.
enough. I'm not interested in highly processed foods either, James, so I'm kind of with you on that one. But I would try it. I would taste it. I wouldn't necessarily make meals on a regular basis, but I would give it a try. And as long as they're honest about what's in it, then maybe I would give it a try.
Rate of Creation says nope,
That's
will not try it.
Yeah, that's Josh's new channel name. So cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Josh says no, he wouldn't try it. Josh is a meat eater. King
You're,
9,
you're not blocked.
King 9, you're not blocked. You know what, King 9, I'll give you a wrench just to show you that you're not blocked. Um, add moderator. King 9, you now have a wrench. You should have had one a long time ago. No, you're not blocked, King 9. I should have gave you a wrench a while ago. Good to see you. Solist Autiste said he wouldn't give them their money. La Solis. Google's just being dumb. Yeah, I've had other people complain that they were blocked when they weren't blocked, so I don't know what happened there. You got a wrench now, so you're definitely not blocked. All right. Okay, so now that we've passed the meat substitute because they want us to stop eating meat, and I don't know if you guys know Mayor Bill de Blasio
De Blasio.
from New York. Richard Madden, what's up, buddy? De Blasio recently passed a law in New York where they called it Meatless Mondays for school lunches. Have you heard about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's this huge push to push people into veganism, and we could go into a whole other, half hour or more
On that topic,
on
yes.
the topic of, yeah, absolutely, on that topic, on how you need animal fat. You literally, body runs on your brain functions, your neurosynapses. You need that cholesterol. Your brain is mostly fat and cholesterol. Your brain
Yeah, it's
doesn't.
mostly cholesterol.
Yeah. So in order to create new neural connections, particularly in your brain, like for memory and things like that, you need a certain amount, a fairly high amount of cholesterol to be exact. I'm not a doctor, but I do play one on the internet.
Yes.
Anyway, and just curious, Josh, if you would like to come sit in with us. Gandalf is sick and he's sort of laying back. But Gandalf, you said you had plenty to say on the topic, so please feel free to pipe up. I'll be glad to shut up. And I know we have.
If he's there.
He's
muted just now, and I don't know whether he's dealing with his sickness or what.
Yeah, I don't believe.
I love James. That's cool. I'm not a dumbass, but I play one on the internet. That was good.
Hey, I just got a text message. Mom's listening. She said I almost bought one of those Impossible Burgers today at Burger King. Oh, they've got them at Burger King? That's right. I think I heard something about That's right. Burger King is
Meatless burgers?
Yeah. She said till she saw the price, it was almost $7.
Oh. As my
Oh,
friend would say,
oh.
Fideshime.
Oh, $5.79, so almost $6 for just a hamburger. Well, honestly, Ma, when I go to Burger King, which is rare, I don't eat fast food except very rarely, but sometimes I get a hankering. I'll go for like a double cheeseburger, and it's a good $6 just for the damn cheeseburger. It's like $8.
Really?
Yeah, it's like $8 and change, almost $9 for. I don't usually get a drink, so a hamburger and a fries is like $8.
I guess that gives you a clue as to how long it's been since I've been out looking for hamburgers and stuff. And when you don't have any money, you make do with what little you can afford to buy.
Josh,
The
would you like to come in here, Josh? Come sit in for a few minutes. We're going to be moving on to the next layer of this debacle here.
Yes.
Pardon me. Got a number file. I don't need that. Where did my other? Oh, have you guys? Okay, I'm not sure how to. All right, what about bugs? Well, let's just move on to bugs before I get even deeper into this. Bugs. Now I'm going to poll the audience again. Would anybody try insects? Like if you ever watch those TV shows, the survivor shows, The Naked and Afraid, Alone, those kind of survival shows where these people get starving, they haven't had any food, and some of them do resort to eating the grub worms and crickets, grasshoppers, things like
Yeah.
that.
I would do that if I was starving, yes.
Oh,
See,
Josh,
I would try it, man.
Josh is out eating dinner, so you, you might want to turn this off, Josh, because this is only going to get worse, bro.
Yes.
Matt Pyman, I blame Joe Rogan. Okay, so bugs. Oh, in fact, if I remember, there was like a campaign, this ad campaign where Nicole Kidman and some other high-profile actors, actresses were like tasting insects, right? Because there's been like this campaign to get people over the idea of eating insect-based protein.
Right.
Well, do you know what they do in Indonesia, eh?
Well,
Hmm.
There's these giant mosquito swarms. All right, so there's these giant mosquito swarms that congregate over these lakes in Indonesia. And so what they do is they go out onto the lake with these giant nets. Like I'm talking like something that's like a really light net that you can kind of wave around over top of you.
hmm
And
like
it's
a
maybe
4 foot opening or something.
yeah, maybe a 5, 6 foot opening.
Okay.
And they just wave these nets around kind of like you would if you're cleaning a pool or something like that.
Yeah, fill them up with skeeters.
Yeah, and they just keep waving them back and forth, and then they really quickly whip them down, and then they tie the bag like with their hands,
Yeah.
so that there's hundreds and thousands of mosquitoes trapped in these nets. And what they do is they then scrunch all the mosquitoes together, like really fine, like they just really mush them up inside of this net. Then they dump it into their coolers. Then they do it again and again and again, and then once they have like a cooler full of mush of mosquitoes,
Mm,
they bring it back to the town, and they kind of mush them up into hamburger patties, and they have mosquito hamburgers.
wow. I have never heard of that. Wow.
Yeah, it's honestly not that bad if you think about it. It's protein, right? So it's like you just got to get over the little hurdle. I'd say there's nothing really wrong with eating insects. I've seen some pretty interesting stuff where they'll take like these little worms, like maybe like something like half the size of your pinky, and they cook them up on a frying pan with butter, and then they mix it into tomato sauce, and you have that in your spaghetti.
Give me a number one, audience, if you would try, if you would give it a try, if you would try eating an insect, or at least try eating, like what Gandalf said, an insect based hamburger that was just made of insect protein. La Solis, he's not helping. He's not taking part in this poll. Oh, look, Abyssian. How about that? So, Abyssian's in the chat. That's the first time I've seen you type anything anywhere, Abyssian. SS would give it a try. Can I tell you to F off? Yeah, if you want to. You won't last very long. Be nice.
Am I missing something here between you and this Abyssian character?
Kinda. He sort of came into our chat in the Hangouts. We were talking about that with Influence, you remember the other day. So James has already tried it. Abyssian says he already has. Somebody else, Wade, said he already ate a cricket, or is he eating crickets? Oh, okay. So Josh says he has seen Abyssian chatting around before. Okay. All right, cool. Okay, so there's that. Not a lot of votes. Josh said he would try an insect-based hamburger or an insect-based something. So, okay. Mostly ones and one fuck off. Let's see. Maybe a bite. Well, Evan, didn't you say you already ate a cricket? So I think that already qualifies as a one. Okay, so now I sucked a moth by accident once. Were you riding a motorcycle and had your mouth open? Don't you remember the lesson from Fonzie? Remember Happy Days? Fonzie said, telling Richie, don't smile when you ride your motorcycle. And he says, why? He says, you get bugs in your teeth. Okay, moving on. Here we go. So now we've seen the promotions, the advertisements. I think I might play a little bit of this. I'm not sure if this is the part. I think
to talk to folks again here on New World next week. So again, of course, stay vigilant as we typically try and do. Finally, on this episode.
Nope, not yet. I'm going to save this probably for last. I want to go to Computing Forever. I'm going to need a different. I wanted to highlight Dave Cullen's video. Sorry about that. Kill the audio on that ad. Okay, so have you guys, we're all trying to save the planet now. Climate change, that's what this is all about, really. Not eating meat because the cows fart too much. So here, want to fight climate change? Have fewer children. I want to let Dave Cullen speak for a minute here and highlight a couple of articles. Check this out. People are, you want to fight climate change? Have fewer children?
Before, they ran with this article. Want to fight climate change?
Yeah.
Have fewer children. Next best actions are selling
I
your
just don't
car,
think we should have
avoiding
any children
flights,
at all.
and going
That will save the
vegetarian,
planet in no
according to
time.
a study into true
There you
impacts
go.
of different green lifestyle choices. Here's an article from Newsweek. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez asks, is it still okay to have kids in face of climate change? I'm seeing this kind of stuff more and more, and in addition, there's also a lot of articles talking about how in the future, we're all going to have to get used to eating insects. CNN has published articles like this. To feed the world, begin with maggot sausage and insect ice cream, scientist says. I covered this in a previous episode of How Is This a Thing? Here's an excerpt.
It's coming real soon, folks.
Good old climate change, the bogeyman excuse for raising taxes, and now adding insects
You know, and when I
to our diet.
realized
Listen,
Doesn't the
just
future
listen.
look so amazing?
Okay.
Packed with protein, yes, and they're also eaten in extremely poor countries where if they had the choice, they probably wouldn't eat them. Just as a quick aside, socialism in Venezuela has created such massive inequality and made people so unbelievably poor that they've been forced to eat the pigeons and rats in the streets. Also, some people have even broken into zoos in order to eat the animals. If people in the Western world have to one day begin eating insects to survive, it will mean that the middle class will have completely disappeared, and the ruling class will continue to become richer. The mega wealthy oligarchs will continue to live in luxury and eat all the sushi, steak, linguine, caviar, and avocado toast they want, while the rest of the serfs and wage slaves will be chowing down on crickets and cockroaches and struggling to pay rent in a cycle of increasing poverty, taxation, and massive inequality. Sounds delightful. Imagine a future where this becomes a real possibility. Let them eat cake. Well, cake is pretty luxurious. Look, guys, I know that quality food is now in short supply, but good news! If you change your definition of what you consider to be food, then there's lots to eat. All you have to do is go down to the rockery in your back garden, and it's like a veritable banquet of bugs. Just take a look at what's in your own garden. What's next? You don't have a garden? Well, if you live in a box-in-the-sky apartment in a major urban area or city, good news! You're probably no more than about 30 meters from a nearby rat. Rats are eaten in lots of countries. I looked it up on Google. Rats are eaten regularly in Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, parts of the Philippines and Indonesia, Thailand, Ghana, China, and Vietnam, says Grant Singleton from the International Rice Research Institute in the Philippines. That's from a BBC source. These are very poor countries indeed. Guess what else I Googled? What countries eat bugs? This source is from theconversation.com. The dominant insect-eating countries are the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Central African Republic, Cameroon, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and South Africa. Clearly, all of them are economic powerhouses, as we know. The most commonly eaten insects include caterpillars, termites, crickets, and palm weevils. Insects are also eaten in China, the Philippines, Thailand, Ghana, Mexico, and Brazil. It says, though the U.S. Department of Agriculture warns that little is known about the safety of eating certain insects. Well, that doesn't exactly fill one with confidence, does it? It's almost like really awful times are coming in the future, where Western nations are going to be reduced to the same standard of living as some of the poorest nations on Earth. Adding bugs to the Western diet could help meet demand and reduce toxic methane gases produced by livestock. 1 quarter-pounder hamburger is the equivalent of 7 pounds of CO2, about 425 gallons of water, plus about 600 square feet of habitat loss. You know, I have a feeling that these environmental and resource demands won't be all that much of a concern for the mega-wealthy, who will likely continue to enjoy a rich, hearty, and varied diet that will no doubt include things like quarter-pounders.
Wait a minute. Let me just look at that again. 1 pound of hamburger?
That will no doubt include things like
625 square feet of habitat
guys,
loss?
It's time to eat. That will no doubt include things like quarter-pounders. Look, to enjoy a rich resource demands won't be all that much of a concern for the 100 square feet of habitat.
And plus almost 600 square feet of habitat loss? I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah, that's not adding up.
How many pounds of beef can come off of a single cow? What are they, like 1,200 pounds? A fucking average cow is like 1,200 pounds worth of beef, right? I mean, they're big animals. Anybody know? Somebody Google how heavy is an average cow, quickly, and then divide that by, or actually multiply that poundage by 600 square feet, and then let's see how many fucking square feet 1 pound or 1 cow is supposed to gobble up of habitat loss. Somebody Google that for me, quick, while I'm screen sharing this. What's the average weight of an average cow? I swear.
We're working on it.
You guys are slower than cow shit.
I'm sorry, I had my thing muted and thought I didn't, so.
I was typing it in, then Amy said she was taking care of it. I know how much like a moose can weigh over a ton.
A male, 2,400 pounds. Female, 1,600 pounds. A large adult cow. 1,600 pounds. Let's see. Let's see what the calculator has to say about that. 960,000 square feet of habitat loss for one cow. Does anybody see a problem with that number?
Big time. Big time.
Get out of here, you lying fucking bastards.
Yes.
600 square feet of habitat loss for 1 pound of hamburger? I think not.
Yeah,
1/4 pound hamburger is the equivalent of 7 pounds of CO2, 425 gallons of water. Well, I don't know. Probably not even realistic either. Let's just see. 1,600 pounds of cow times 425 per pound. That's gallons of water. That's 680,000 gallons of water. That's assuming they're calculating for the entire lifespan of a cow.
I would like to point out that in the weight of the cow, not all of that is in hamburger type stuff. I mean, they don't usually put a whole lot of bone and that sort of thing into a hamburger. But even still, it works out that you can get quite a few hamburgers off a bovine critter.
And I do also realize that the water figure that they're giving here is not necessarily just what cows drink per se, but it's like clean up water, spraying and hosing down cages or whatever. So there's lots of other water uses to maintain cattle.
Water for what they eat. You know, you have to water the fields.
Yeah, but I'm just not buying this 980,000 square feet of habitat loss for one fucking cow. I'm not.
No.
Nope, sorry. Anyway.
Guys, it's time to eat bugs because climate change and CO2 emissions or something. Maybe CNN should begin adding insects to their lunch menu in the staff canteen. I should point out that in many of the poor nations I mentioned, they eat bugs as a delicacy and not a staple in their diet. If these people had access to significant quantities of meat, fish, and fresh vegetables, they wouldn't be eating bugs if they had the choice. The West doesn't need to start eating bugs. Western nations should focus on self-sufficiency, producing food for their own people and not other countries. And the reason for this is our birth rates are low, and so our resources are abundant. But of course, mass immigration of groups of people with high birth rates means that those same resources will be overtaxed and exhausted in the future. So how about we stop mass immigration and focus on taking care of our own people first? Here in Ireland, we are perfectly capable of providing for our own people without ever having to resort to eating beetles, caterpillars, and spiders. By the way, unsurprisingly, The Guardian has also talked about this. Would you eat insects to save the planet from global warming? Well, if you thought the climate change alarmism of having to eat bugs was bad, wait till you see what this Swedish...
Okay, here's where I have to stop and pause for a second because it's the coup de grace is about to come up here. Okay. Oh, influences in the chat. Hey, hon. Let's see. Gandalf, you want to add to this climate change alarmism going on? You all right, buddy? Coughing up a lung?
I hope he's okay.
Oh, it's brutal, dude. Yeah, I think I would try some of this stuff, though. None of this stuff looks too bad.
In a survival situation, I wouldn't hesitate to eat grubs, bugs, worms.
Yeah, I wouldn't either in a survival situation. If that was what there was to eat, I'd eat it.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, like Dave said, in those poorer third world countries, if they had access to, you know, better quality food, beef, cattle, whatever, that they probably wouldn't eat the quantity of bugs that they do eat simply for sustenance and a good source of protein.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure they wouldn't say, "Oh, that lamb dish, nah, give me the bugs." No, they're not gonna.
Okay, so here we go. You guys ready? We're going deep now. Do you remember this? face to face with a cannibalistic sect. Reza Aslan learns why some fear the Agori Hindu sect when he sits down with a bizarre guru covered with covered in cremated ashes.
Hey, Steve. Hi,
No,
great.
I didn't want
Nice
to
to
click
meet
that.
Nice
I
to meet
wanted
you
to
too. Thanks so much for helping me out
scroll.
with this.
What does human flesh taste like?
Hey,
Damn it.
Steve. Hi,
Stop
great.
doing that.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
I'm actually really familiar with this entire subject, actually.
So this guy, he was a CNN host until they canceled his show. And some are saying that this was a stunt to get his ratings up because he did this right before his show was canceled. CNN host Reza Aslan eats human brains while profiling Hindu Agori cannibals.
Let me. I want to look into this guy. I think I've heard of him before.
Well, this went around, I don't know, a year or two ago, maybe 3 years. I don't think it was that long ago. Maybe it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this
Thereabouts.
dude sat down with these guys and this Agori Hindu tribe in India. Here he is right here. CNN presenter eats
Frank's Red
human
Hot. I put
brains.
that on everything.
My coworker's lunch?
I would.
ਇਹ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਹੈ ਅਮਰੀਕੀ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਚੈਨਲ CNN ਦਾ। ਇਸ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਐਂਕਰ ਰੇਜ਼ਾ ਅਸਲਾਨ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਖਾਈ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਘੋਰੀ ਵੀ ਵਿਖਾਈ ਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਅਘੋਰੀ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਖੋਪੜੀ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਇਰਾਨੀ ਮੂਲ ਭਾਰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਘੋਰੀ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਟ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਅਘੋਰੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪਕੇ ਹੋਏ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਖੋਪੜੀ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਖਿਲਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ।
So apparently this chief of the tribe here says, should we eat the living? Shall I show you by eating my own flesh? Then call me Agori. I will cut your head off if you keep talking so much.
ਭਾਰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਘੋਰੀ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਟ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸਨ ਉਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਅਘੋਰੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪਕੇ ਹੋਏ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਖੋਪੜੀ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਖਵਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ। ਅਸਲਾਨ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਉੱਤਰ ਪ੍ਰਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਦੀ ਰਾਖ ਵੀ ਲਗਾਈ ਗਈ। ਅਸਲਾਨ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੀ ਰਾਖ ਵੀ ਲਗਾਈ ਗਈ। ਅਸਲਾਨ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਖੋਪੜੀ ਛਡਾਉਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਘੋਰੀ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਜਿਹਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਪੀਣ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ। ਅਸਲਾਨ ਇਹ ਪਾਣੀ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਅਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਘੋਰੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ
Apparently they're saying that that was a piece of human brain. And there's a whole documentary that he does on this. This is only part of it. But here they showed this on television. It was part of a campaign to promote the documentary. This dude sits down on TV and munches down on some human brains.
That is seriously, seriously fucked up.
And then we have this from these two jerk-offs, and I don't know who they are, but I found this while looking into this stuff. I mean, this whole list of videos that I'm looking at right here, the cannibal generals of Libya. Damn it. Go back. Cannibalism Explainer, What Does Human Flesh Taste Like? Interview with a Cannibal. Vsauce did a video on it. What does human taste like? Cannibal couple allegedly kill and eat up to 30 people in Russia. But that's, those are bizarre cases, right? People, weirdos like Jeffrey Dahmer. But this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about mainstream promoting. And I don't know if you guys have seen this kind of stuff. This went around a couple years ago. People running around, or there was at least one or two cases. Bath salts blamed for Miami cannibal case. This guy was running around naked on the streets and he attacked some woman and was biting her and eating and swallowing pieces. How to legally eat human brains. Great. But this is not what I'm actually after right here. Guy cuts a piece of his own leg off to learn what it tastes like. See, these are fringe cases. But this is, where did it go? Where did it go? Here it is. 2 Dutch TV presenters eat each other's flesh on TV show.
Heb je geroken, Dennis, je vlees?
Ik heb niet geroken. Moet ik mijn eigen vlees ruiken?
Toch?
Je gaat nu je eigen bil ruiken.
Ja, wat bizar. Gewoon rauw vlees.
Ja, dat ruikt niet
Dat
raar.
is het natuurlijk ook, maar... Ja, oké.
Mijn go heb je nog steeds.
Wie gaat er als eerste in de pan?
Nou, ik doe eerst Valerio. In het kleine pannetje.
Dit is de biefstuk.
Kijk, hij is best wel heet, het pannetje nu.
Oh,
zie je?
Oh, daar ga je!
Dat voelt toch wel een beetje gek, hoor.
En een stukje vet.
Het is net een stuk banaan. Wat
Heel klein stukje biefstuk nog.
Heel klein stukje zit er nog in, zie je dat?
So they
Het is ook
both
echt wel bien cuit, dus
volunteer. I don't.
in het vak jochom.
I'm not exactly clear as to.
Zie je, dat is toch een beetje dat bacon effect, denk ik.
What part of these guys they
Jezus, je ligt in de
donated
pan,
to?
Ja, ik prik al een stukje van jouw bilvet op mijn vork en het valt me meteen op dat het echt
But they each
overeenkomt met een
volunteer a
autobahn.
portion of themselves,
Dus ik ben
and
benieuwd hoe
again,
dat
I don't
smaakt.
know
Dank
what
je.
portion.
We bewaren de biefstuk voor het laatste.
Ja?
Alsjeblieft, ik doe dit nooit meer. Ruik eerst even goed aan me. Voordat je het in je mond stopt en opeet, geniet ervan. Het is puur uit liefde.
Well, they do it. This video is not going to show it. So that was mainstream. But there's tons of stuff like that. There's a... what was I looking for? Something else. Okay, here we go. All right, you ready? Where did it go? Anyway, those 2 Dutch reporters, or TV hosts, literally each ate a piece of each other on television, which is creepy enough. So let's go over to James Corbett and James Avenatti. I think that's his name, Avenatti, the other James. Listen to this.
I mean, we'll just have to say right here as I look up at my calendar, we will hit the 18th anniversary of 9/11 before we get to talk to folks again here on New World next week. So again, of course, stay vigilant as we typically try and do. Finally, on this episode 383, James, I guess you wanted to get an early start on Halloween, I guess, and I'm completely game. A modest proposal indeed. Academia considers cannibalism. The thought leaders and philosophers of the Western world recently turned their attention to a rather radical method of reducing my carbon footprint and self-regulating the Earth's population. It's been a rocky couple of eons, but one thing we've managed to completely leave behind is the ultimate taboo, cannibalism. Academics, however, are unconstrained by nasty social constructs like morality and ethics and not eating grandma. Far away from the real world, professors steeped in postmodernism, a doctrine that reigns supreme in social science departments and rejects the notion of objective reality, have been suggesting for some time that we embrace our inner beast and break that ultimate taboo. Cannibalism occurs in every class of vertebrates, wrote American Museum of Natural History researcher Bill Shutt in his 2017 piece, Cannibalism, A Perfectly Natural History. After discussing which wine pairs best with human placenta, Shutt mused whether one day food shortages and overcrowding might lead us to eat our own. The New York Times unironically called the book refreshing. Additionally, researchers at UC San Diego declared in 2017 that as cannibalism helps limit the spread of disease in some species, it could benefit us too. Researchers said with an accompanying press release from the university declaring, quote, "We are flipping the paradigm with regards to cannibalism. For some populations, cannibalism may be just what the doctor ordered." Now, the title of this piece, A Modest Proposal Indeed, originally from RT, and again, everything we say and play will always be included in the show notes, so you can continue the research for yourself, is a play on Jonathan Swift's satirical piece about the Irish selling their kids for the rich to eat them so they won't be a burden on their parents anymore in his modest proposal. And you can read that original satirical piece thanks to Gutenberg.org. But James, this did all really seem to pop back up in early 2017, and I'll link up my Netflix's ads for Santa Clarita Diet are good, gross fun, but one went too far. Even our friends at Truth Stream Media made a video about it. The system is normalizing cannibalism, and James, what do you know? We were actually ahead of the curve back in 2013 with the film.
Yeah, Truth Stream Media did do a video on this, that the system is normalizing cannibalism. Look at this. We've got a Netflix TV show, Santa Clarita Diet, and the other one was this teen Raw is the teen cannibalism drama America needs right now. Wait, America needs this right now? That's what America needs right now?
Oh man, this is like yuck.
Well, here's the thing, though, you guys. Have you guys ever? What's one of your favorite foods? Breakfast foods, would you say?
Baby.
No,
I
no.
like avocado on toast.
Like, do you guys like?
I like protein in the morning. I do like 3 or 4 eggs usually, and sometimes hash browns. And
Do you like pierogi? Do you guys even eat pierogies down in the States?
pierogies? We got pierogies down here.
Yeah.
Pierogies up here are huge. So like typical Canadian breakfast would be like baked potato, like you cut up the potatoes and you put in the onions, like little like hash browns, but real hash browns. Eggs, bacon. You guys love all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I hate bacon.
Oh well. Here's the thing. Here's your problem then, Amy. You might not like human meat.
Oh darn!
A human tastes almost identical to pig. So, in consistency, in texture, in taste, in flavor, human tastes almost identical to pig, basically identical. If you were to feed a person human and it was cooked, you have a bit of mustard there beside it, you would not be able to tell that you weren't eating pig. You wouldn't, if somebody told you, oh, you're eating human, you wouldn't believe them because it tastes so similar to pig human.
Can I get some Chianti with that?
Yes. And some fava beans.
What they call like the headhunting cannibals down in Papua New Guinea, they actually call human lean pig when they eat humans.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the headhunting tribes, usually they only kill someone if they're a sorcerer.
Well, they're not killing Americans, or they wouldn't call them lean pig.
Oh yeah, they probably if they capture
they just call them pig.
Yeah, if they capture an American tourist, I'm sure that's what they would call them. Probably a bit sardonically though. But typically in Papua New Guinea, they'll only eat humans that are confirmed by the village to be witches or sorcerers. So so if you're a witch or a sorcerer, that's the only people that are going to be murdered by the Papua New Guineans. Right, so it's not like they're going out and just killing entire villages, eating them. They only kill and eat the sorcerers and the witches. Luckily, right?
Well, I don't know really much about it.
Influence asks if you have eaten human to know this as fact.
No, but I take the tribesman's word for it.
That's about as far as I'm willing to go.
Me too.
I don't usually take people's word for much, but I'll take your word on that one.
I will say this. If I'm starving to death, no, I'm not going to eat another human.
Okay, so here
I will die.
So we got about 20 minutes left. I want to read this article. This happened just 2 days ago. Actually 2, 3, 4 days ago. It was a little conference. Swedish researcher pushes eating human flesh as an answer to future climate change food shortages. I just want to read that again. Swedish researcher pushes eating human flesh as the answer to future climate change food shortages.
Climate change.
Climate change alarmism has taken a macabre turn that will seem to be satire, but it's not. It happened in Sweden. At a summit for food of the future, the climate ravaged future, also called Gastro Summit in Stockholm. Where have I heard that word? Stockholm. Oh, that's right, Stockholm Syndrome. September 3rd through 4th, a professor held a PowerPoint presentation asserting that we must, quote, awaken the idea of eating human flesh in the future as a way of combating the effects of climate change. Wow, really? In a talk titled, Can You Imagine Eating Human Flesh? Behavioral scientist and marketing strategist Edward Bernays, anyone?
Yes.
Behavioral scientist and marketing strategist Magnus Soderlund from, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this word because I don't speak Spanish, College of Commerce, argues for the breaking down of the ancient taboos against desecrating the human corpse and eating human flesh. He refers to the taboo against it as conservative. You think?
You think?
And discusses people's resistance to it as a problem. Oh, my resistance to eating people is a problem, is it?
Well, a lot of alt-right Trump supporters think that it's a bad thing to eat humans, so you're probably a Nazi if you refuse to eat humans.
Well, if
That must be it.
if resisting eating human flesh makes me a Trump supporter, MAGA country, baby. This is MAGA country.
Yes.
I'll remember you said that, Ruth.
Yeah, you got the soundbite now, don't you?
I got it. I recorded it.
Okay, so
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say that, this might sound a little out there, but, if I was in the situation, say I was a part of the Donner Party, right? I would possibly eat humans. Yeah,
Again, in a maybe. In an extreme survival situation, maybe. But I'm telling you right now, that's a big maybe. I'm not even going to say, because I read the book Alive. The people in Argentina and over in South America, the plane that crashed in the Andes Mountains.
Mm.
I read that book and the whole story about how they had to eat the dead to survive. I would have done one of two things before it came to that, actually. I probably wouldn't have waited around as long as they did. I probably would have been the guy to make my way out of there long before they finally decided to make their way out of there.
Yes.
I'm very proactive that way. I just wouldn't fucking sit around freezing my balls off. If I'm going to freeze, I might as well be doing something, and that is getting the fuck out of here.
Are you guys familiar with the Donner Party, though, like the story and the characters involved?
Yeah.
Well, you remember what happened to the German, right?
No, not specifically. It's a story I heard a long time ago, and I don't
Yeah,
remember
me
the
too.
details.
I don't remember the details either.
I'll skip most of the details of what ended up going on with the Donner Party. If you're interested, I suggest everyone to look into this. But it's one of the most fascinating stories, I think, in American history. When basically, so after the entire winter is over, right? One of the people that was still alive was found to be in kind of like, we're talking like snow, like he's in a snow hovel. It had snowed so much that winter that wood was like the trees. If you go to Donner Lake today and you find these trees, the trees were cut 15 feet high up because that's how thick the snow was. So this guy was basically found in a snow cave, and he was known as the German. When they found him in his little hut, covered in snow, in his little tunnel, he had hacked and cut human bones all around him, and he had used knives to scrape the bone or the meat off the bone.
The marrow and whatever, breaking the bones open.
Yeah, he was breaking the bones and boiling the bones, to get every last bit of protein that he could out of these humans that he was finding dead in the snow of starvation. So a lot of the horror that comes out of the Donner story or the Donner Pass basically revolves around the German. Now, they went into his tunnel and they're like, "Hey, we got to get you out of here, man." And he sounded like they thought he was stark raving mad. It was only a couple weeks later, after finally getting out of the Donner Pass and back into coastal California, that he started to get his wits about him again. And the most vilified person in the entire Donner story ended up actually going on to found several very successful restaurants in San Francisco.
Okay.
That's just a little history lesson when it comes to cannibalism in the United States. I don't know why I wanted to share that story of the Donner Pass German that started who became a very successful restaurateur. But I thought it was an interesting little thing to share.
He discovered a new flavor, is what he did.
Yes.
Oh, he was a very, very successful and wealthy guy after being in Donner Pass.
All right, I got another internet poll, audience poll. This paragraph I need to start over. He refers to the taboos against it as conservative and discusses people's resistance to it as a problem that could be overcome little by little, beginning with persuading people to just taste it. All right, here we go, audience. Audience poll, would you taste it or not? 1 for taste, I would taste human flesh. 2, absolutely fucking not. And feel free to give me the fuck off if you wish. Press F if you say fuck, if you want to say fuck off. Oh, Gandalf, you would taste it. You would taste it? You would taste human flesh, Gandalf?
I'd try it, yeah.
You would. You sick fuck. You're off the panel.
You are.
It's once you get past the moralizing of, oh my God, I'm eating another human. You just realize that humans are just sentient beings. It doesn't mean that the flesh on our bones isn't nutritious. Like, that's the hurdle you need to get over.
Well, look, again, in an extreme survival situation, if you're going to die as opposed to nibbling a little to get through the next day or week, okay, maybe. I might actually die before doing that, maybe.
I'm going to die before that.
Maybe. That's a hard call to make when you're sitting in your living room and you're warm and cozy. That's
True.
hard call to make. Okay? However, everyone's saying 2, except I got 1 F. I expected that. And Gandalf, I'm a little surprised by your answer, but maybe I'm not that surprised. So
I would. I don't have any shame in saying that I would eat another human. None at all.
Okay, so anybody else want to be a panel co-host? We're looking for a new co-host for CONHWC.
Yes. You better put number 2 in there.
Quick, Gandalf, type 2.
I can't do it. I can't lie and pretend I wouldn't. Like, if I was in a situation,
Well, I give you points for being honest.
If I was in a situation where it's like I'm stuck in the Donner Pass, I'm gonna start eating humans.
Well, okay, that's different. We're not talking about stuck in the Donner Pass. We're talking about this guy, this Swedish scientist, for the sake of climate change. God save the world from fucking climate change. Would you at least try a human burger just once, just a bite?
Nah, probably not.
All right.
Not if there's a beef burger that I could eat. You know what I mean? Beside it.
Right. Okay.
No, I wouldn't touch it.
Okay.
With
Cool.
a 10-foot pole.
Okay. Cool. And I also wanted to mention the logistics of this because, they have the donor on your driver's license if you want to be an organ donor card that you fill out. Some people carry around cards, and some people have it on their driver's license that they're organ donors if you die in a car accident and you got a good working heart and you're a healthy human and you're type whatever and somebody needs one, they'll rush you off and extract your heart and send it off to the other side of the world or the other side of the country to save somebody's life, you got to volunteer for that shit, right? You got to sign your name
Yes.
and volunteer for that. So now I'm wondering, what is this fucking Swedish scientist thinking about the future? Are people going to volunteer their corpses to feed humanity to save global warming, climate change? Really?
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Fake.
When you renew your driver's license, there'll be a new question on the questionnaire. Would you like to donate your organs? Yes. Save a life? Yes. Would you like to be eaten or buried or cremated?
Yeah, exactly. Oh God.
Would you like check the box that applies? If, upon your death, would you like to be cremated, buried, eaten? How bizarre are we talking? What the fuck are we talking about here? The only other option is that they're going to start grinding up corpses without their consent.
I think they already do that.
And I can only imagine how easy it would be, especially for everybody who opts for cremation, because the family gets back a bag of dust with some bones.
Well, don't you guys love eating veggies? Grown
Vegetables.
Some veggies, yeah.
Yeah, don't you
Vegetables.
love, you driving down the roads, you see these big farms, and they're growing all these nice, delectable vegetables. Do you know that all farm fields, or at least I think it's something around 70% of all farm fields are actually fertilized with human excrement from the cities?
No, I don't think that's true. I think there's some toxic.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
Citation needed.
Yeah, citation, please.
All farm fields are actually fertilized with human waste from the large cities.
Citation needed.
Yep.
Now, I do remember seeing a documentary once about like the guys who pump out septic tanks. They have these huge concrete lagoons that they dump their trucks into, and then they let it dry. They let all the water evaporate, and then they scrape out the dried leftover. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually might have used it as some sort of fertilizer. Maybe.
That's what they do. Waste.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, it's insane.
But I mean, when you consider the pharmaceuticals people are taking these days, that's just another reason that we're poisoning our soil. But go ahead.
Well, not just that. That's also, you got to wonder why there's all these new diseases and cancers that have never existed in human history.
Well, I can think of a number of possible avenues for that.
All right, let me finish out this article because if I'm not mistaken, this particular article covers Kuru, which is a problem.
That's what I was thinking about.
Which is
what
a problem.
About Kuru?
Which is a problem. So he can be seen in the video presentation and on Swedish state television saying that since food sources will be scarce in the future, I'm not really sure how he knows that, but I mean, if you consider the way things are being operated right now, that with artificial scarcity, and that's a whole other topic that'll derail us if we go there.
Yes.
But artificial scarcity is a real thing. I don't think, who was it that said that we're not overpopulated? Was it King 9? I don't believe we're overpopulated either. I think that we have full capability of feeding everybody right now as it is and more.
Well, considering the amount of food that goes to waste because it didn't sell before it spoiled, yeah, we can feed. The last I checked, we produced about 125% of the food that we all on this planet could eat. But about 30 to 40%, depending on where, 30 to 40% of it spoils before anybody can eat it.
I'm not buying that 30 to 40% either. I'm not buying that number either. I'm not buying it.
Okay.
Citation needed. I'm going to need to see real proof that number is a legitimate number.
It's been a while since I looked up those figures.
I know that
I can come up with something for you.
I know that plenty goes to waste.
Yes.
Everybody eventually reaches in their refrigerator and throws away something that didn't get eaten or didn't get eaten fast enough and it went waste.
Yep.
Not to mention that grocery stores have to have sell by dates, and if it doesn't sell, they have to throw it away. But
Yep.
but when you're talking 30%, 40%, those are numbers that I'm having a hard time swallowing. So
What I read was that in the United States it's about 40%.
yeah, I'm not buying 40%. Maybe
Okay.
again,
I will,
again, like the number we agreed on earlier, maybe 10, maybe 10%.
well, then we'd all be eating just fine if that was true.
Easier cells, he suggests. Let me finish this last sentence. People must be introduced to eating things they have thus far considered disgusting, among them human flesh. No, no, no. People must not be introduced to eating things, particularly human fucking flesh.
Yes. Particularly.
The bug thing, I could probably get on board with a bug burger. Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe.
Yeah, if that's what was all that I could get my hands on, I'd eat it.
Conditions provided, maybe. But if it was a human, I think I would probably rather just fucking starve to death. Honest to God. Honest to God. Honest to the God that I don't believe in, I truly think that I would probably opt out of that option.
I agree with you,
Oh,
Evan.
here. Easier cells, he suggests included as an easier cell, pets and insects. Well, I tell you what, a pet is not going to be easy to sell for me or probably not most Americans. We value our pets like children, so you're going to have a hard time getting me to eat cats and dogs.
Ruth, you know how painful starvation is.
I don't care. In a survival situation, if it was me and my dog in the wilderness and there was no fucking food, we would both starve to death before I killed and ate my dog.
Ruth, like you'd be lying there, like on the ground, and I'm sitting there by the fire, and there's all these people that are all starving and dying, and
I got my dog sitting right there, and you're all starving to death. You know what? I would kill you before I let you touch my dog.
No, I'm not saying I'm eating your dog, but I'm eating somebody else's arm, and like I'm just sitting there.
I would sit and watch you chew on someone else's arm before I would kill my dog to feed you.
No, and I'd just be like,
If that's your choice, that's your choice. I'm a libertarian, dude. You make your choice.
I'd be sitting there by the fire, and I'd have my spear sitting upright just in case someone tries to take my meat, and I'd throw you another cooked arm, and I'd just be like, eat.
So what are we having tonight? Italian? Mexican? I'll have stew.
Oh, it's a mystery.
Bump. Stew. Get it?
Stewie?
Stewart. I'll have stew tonight.
Rufus, eat.
In Swedish articles describing this new debate, the term Maniskokots branschen is introduced. This means the human flesh industry. That statement right there, the human flesh industry, that right there already harkens to that Charlton Heston movie, Soylent Green. I'm already disturbed by that one statement, the human flesh industry. That already gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yes.
The logistics of the human flesh industry is disturbing on its face, let alone trying to figure that one out.
Money.
In his bio at the Stockholm School of Economics, Sutherland states that his research focus includes consumer behavior, marketing stimuli, loyalty, emotions, justice perceptions, justice perceptions,
yeah,
psychological reactions. This is an Edward Bernays. This guy went to the school of Edward Bernays. I swear to God.
Yes, I think so.
In a society increasingly obsessed with consumption. No, we're not obsessed with consumption.
We've been indoctrinated into it.
Thank you. I mean, people like lawnmowers and shit, but I mean, whatever. We know, keeping up with the Joneses, all that. People can be tricked. I love it. Here it is. People can be tricked, Sutherland teases, into making the right decisions. Oh, how about fuck you?
Yeah, really.
Who are you to tell me what the right fucking decisions is? And how dare you think you're so smart with all your consumer behavior marketing stimuli, justice perceptions, that you can fucking trick me into making what you consider the right fucking decision? How about fuck you?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm getting triggered, you guys. Somebody else talk before I lose my brain catches on fire.
Well, all I can say is that this is clearly an agenda that this is feeding. Clearly an agenda being fed.
I think you guys are just living in the past.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
You know,
I'd rather live in the past than live in what looks like our future.
Yes, I agree.
you got to get in
I
with the hip kids, you guys. Come on.
I would rather
The hip
just
kids.
work towards creating something better where psychopaths are not in control.
You don't think that we could defeat the evils by eating humans, Sammy?
No, I don't.
No, okay.
I do not believe that to make the world better, we need to be unethical.
You're probably going to have to. Speaking of defeating the evils, that's an interesting point you make. You're probably going to have an uphill battle getting over the religious folks in the world to convince them that eating grandma is an okay, acceptable means of sustainability.
Yes.
Unless you're Catholic,
Yeah, really.
because every Sunday you're already pretending to eat the flesh and blood of Christ. So that's a pretend cannibalism ritual that they do all the fucking time. So you probably have an easier time with the Catholics. Sorry, Catholics. If there's any Catholics out there listening, sorry. That's just the truth.
Yep.
So, and you also said, be hip, Gandalf. Is cannibalism the solution to food sustainability in the future? Does Generation Z have the answers to our food challenges? I'm going to say no if this is where you're going. Can consumers be tricked into making the right decisions? He says again. There's a little repetition there for you. Repetition always works.
Yep.
At GastroSummit, you will get some of the answers to these questions and also partake in the interesting choice of word. Also partake.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting choice of word. And also partake in the latest scientific findings and get to meet the leading experts. Well, I would like to meet the leading expert in cannibalism. I would like to shake his hand with one hand and punch him in the throat with the other hand.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is just ghastly.
So here, check this out. This is a little disturbing. In his talk, Sutherland asked the audience how many would be open to the idea. Not many hands go up, which is bothersome already because
any hands went up.
Yeah, that implies that some hands went up. Some groaning is heard. When interviewed after his talk, he reports he's pleased, brightly that 8% of conference participants say they would be open to trying it. Well, I got news for you, pal. I couldn't even get close to 8% out of my audience, and I don't know, what do we have, a sample size of 25 people right now? With the exception of Gandalf and his taste for baby blood.
Yes.
8% of the conference participants said they would be open to trying it. Who the fuck is at this conference? Honestly.
Satanists?
I'll ask my audience again, just in case there's anybody new. Would you be open to trying, just tasting it? Would you try it for the benefit of saving the world, climate change, my carbon footprint? Would you be, give me a number one, please. Let's revote. Here comes the twos already. Give me a number one if you would at least be open to trying, tasting, just taste a little bit of human flesh. Just taste it. Give me a number 1 if you'd be open to tasting it. Thank you. Gandalf changed his vote to a 2.
Well, I misheard you.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, we weren't talking about like extreme survival. That's a whole other ball of wax. Look at all the 2s coming in. I'm not seeing 8% of my audience. Feck nah. Absolutely not. 2, 2, 2. Allison Twist says hi. Allison, did you miss the question?
I think she must have missed the question.
No, she said absolutely not. So
Oh,
she's a 2.
did she say that earlier?
Yeah, she did. Okay, I see it now.
So there it is, guys. We have an overwhelming 2, a down vote, a no vote, a fuck you vote. How the fuck are you getting 8%? That is disturbing. If that's
I think that he got 8% by fiddling with his statistics.
yeah, probably. It's probably bullshit.
Yes, exactly.
I don't believe this is 8% of that audience member. Imagine an auditorium at a conference, a science conference. There's probably what 200-300 people in an auditorium, right?
Yeah.
At a lecture conference, a couple of hundred people probably, right?
Yep.
Potentially 1,000 people if it's a big conference. 8%. Let's say there was 100 people. That's 8 people.
Yep.
So divide by 4, because right now we got 25 people watching us right now, roughly. Okay, that means that 2 people in my audience should be voting 1 right now.
Nope, not seeing it.
Exactly, Richard Madden. I just did the math and I saw your comment. Exactly, Richard Madden nailed it. Only need 2 people out of 25 to get 8%. Precisely. Okay, so there you go. I'm calling bullshit. Laz Valdez, 2. Hey Laz, how you been, buddy?
Yep.
So yeah, there's no,
lots of 2s.
I can't even get a 0.1% out of this audience. Not even, with the exception of Gandalf, who misunderstood the question regarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, fellow man, I know they labeled the NRA in San Francisco domestic terrorists. I saw that. I haven't mentioned it because it's totally off topic. I wanted to mention it, but we had so much to talk about, and we're already a little bit over time. Josh is going to be starting up soon. But yeah, thank you for bringing it up, fellow man. I did want to mention it. And by the way, it was a local, if I'm not mistaken, help me out, fellow man. It was a local board of council members, city council members, I think, who labeled or denounced or pronounced the NRA as a domestic terrorist group. Yeah, I did hear about that.
That sounds like part of the play.
Oh my
Just
god.
more riling people up and
One thing I would
divide.
One thing I would like to say when it comes to there's so much to talk about when it comes to this topic, but you're familiar with that little Swedish girl that sailed across the ocean to New York City recently?
Say again, I was typing what?
There's a little Swedish girl that's some new big sensation.
Oh yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. Yes.
It's like Greta Thunberg or something like that.
And they got her like asking questions to presidential candidates and shit. 14 years old.
Yeah, that's her. That's her. The whole thing is with this entire, save the world stuff that I'm hearing. Like, I'm probably a bigger eco, and like I'm fucking a hair's distance away from being like an ELF member or something like that. That's how serious I am about the environment. But what I never so when I hear all these people, like all these passionate people, like morally, superior people that think that they're morally superior because they really care about the environment. 90% of people that are in this entire, save the world, fucking, if you can call it a movement, always talk about climate change as being the biggest threat to the world. where climate change is probably a fraction of the threat. You know, they want to focus on something that you really can't affect. Emissions are going to continue to increase because the human population is going to continue to increase. There's like a new coal-fired factory plant that's established in China I think it's like every week. There's a new coal-powered energy plant there. So the main thing that we actually so climate change is what they want you to focus on, but really the main threat is the environmental destruction taking place worldwide. That's cutting down trees. That's the pollutants going into the oceans from the rivers in Asia, India, like Africa is where a lot of these river pollutants are coming from.
Yes.
Um,
I do want to add something to that. When you look at the papers that examine climate change, and Suspicious Observers channel has an awesome video called Fatal Flaw in Climate Change Science. And they have pointed out that virtually all of the energy from the sun is being added to the human side of things. There is no human contribution to the climate, aside from things like weather manipulation, is essentially nil. I mean, all we can do is move things around, but as far as the temps are concerned, everything is normal and natural. And so I highly recommend, I dropped the link, Fatal Flaw in Climate Change Science, into the chat there. You begin to understand that the whole human created climate change thing is just as real as the the Sandy Hook shooting. I mean, or what else can we say? The measles causing physical problems. I mean, the immune amnesia. Okay, it's all just agenda-driven bullpucky. Anyway,
so final thoughts, you guys. What do you? And Gandalf, you wanted to pipe up. You had some stuff on the climate.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, that's basically the snippet I gave you. Like, I could go on for hours about what we can actually do. But here, I'm going to drop a link to a YouTube channel. It's kind of like these guys basically are surfers. I forget exactly where they're from, but they started up a business basically where you give them $20, they send you a bracelet, and they put the $20 towards this ocean cleanup effort that's going on. And what they're actually doing, when I first heard about this, I was really skeptical. It's called Four Oceans, and these two guys, these two surfers, are actually doing more than the United Nations, the United States, the Chinese, the Russians, you name it. They're doing more than all of these world governments combined to clean the oceans. Now, when I first heard about this ocean cleanup effort, I was like, oh, it's these two little fuckers are just probably trying to run a scam. But once I looked into it, I looked into their methods. It actually has the possibility of really reducing the plastic pollutants going into the oceans, which could save hundreds of millions of birds, you name it.
yes. That, in fact, Suspicious Observers points out that just because it's not us that is messing with the climate has nothing to do with all of the other damage that we are doing to the planet. This is not to say everything is hunky-dory. Indeed, we've got things like the mounds of trash floating in the ocean, and on and on and on. So yeah, You know, those are the real issues, not climate change. At least anthropogenic.
Well,
the climate is
another.
changing. We
Yeah,
Yes,
of course, but
that's a natural event.
yeah,
That's just
it's a natural event. Yes.
about 700 million years ago, there used to be from pole to pole, the entire Earth was covered in ice, about a mile thick. Pole to pole, a mile thick of ice. So there was no ocean around the equator or anything. It was just pole to pole solid ice 700 million
yeah, they
years
called
ago.
it snowball Earth.
Yeah, so climate is constantly changing, but say we have like a 2% increase, which they're predicting. But okay, so that's going to happen. But then guess what else is going to happen? The entire oceans are going to be acidified. The oceans are going to be polluted. All the trees are going to be cut down. I think that's a little more significant of a threat than a 2% increase in the temperature.
Actually, according to what they're seeing, we're headed for an ice age.
Hmm. And by the way, if you look at the actual data without cherry picking the data, what you'll find is that CO2 follows temperature. It does not precede temperature.
Yep. Temperature goes up, then the CO2 goes up.
Right. Because when the temperature goes up, more bacteria can work easier, faster, and harder at digesting plant matter and dead animals.
Yep.
And that's where the CO2 and the methane gases come from. So temperature rises, then CO2 rises. It's an after effect, not a preceding effect. Oh,
Absolutely.
and there was one thing I wanted to say before we close out, because when we were setting up tonight, this evening's show, talking privately, I mentioned the ozone, and I think I mentioned this earlier on a show many months ago, that the ozone, the hole in the ozone. You remember all the media, the news. It was fear, fear, fear about the ozone hole, and oh my God, we got to stop using hairspray, and it's all the what was it, CFS or the CFCs,
Yeah.
something.
CFCs, I think it was.
Yeah, stuff that they were putting into compressed air canisters like hairspray and shit. um, Honestly, I think that was a marketing ploy because it was cheaper to produce a bottle with a squirt pump than it was to create compressed canisters. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, CFCs, I think it was CFCs.
Yeah.
Chlorofluorocarbons, that's what they were. Chlorofluorocarbons,
Yep.
CFCs. So here's the thing. When the Earth, I don't have graphics right now, but imagine this. The sun on the left side, the Earth on your right side, just put that in your head, and the Earth is on a tilt. So when the Earth is tilted towards the sun, the North Pole gets more sunlight than the South Pole. And it's a well-known fact, every single scientist on Earth will not deny this, that ultraviolet light creates ozone. Ultraviolet radiation will strike an oxygen molecule, and oxygen is O2, so 2 parts oxygen. 2 atoms of oxygen struck by an ultraviolet photon separates that oxygen molecule into 2 oxygen atoms. And then you have a free-floating oxygen atom that will bond with another oxygen molecule causing O3, which is 3 parts oxygen. That's ozone.
Right.
This is caused... electricity does this also.
Yep.
So ultraviolet light and electricity. So every time lightning strikes, we get ozone, a little bit of ozone. Ozone is actually bad for you. It's not healthy. So if anybody has ever used one of those ozone machines to get rid of the musty odor in their basement, throw that fucking thing away. They're toxic. They're dangerous. Don't get rid of it. They smell funny for a reason. You're not supposed to be breathing ozone. That's why ozone is many miles above you and not down here on the fucking ground.
Yep.
So, when the Earth tilts towards the sun, the ozone hole in our upper atmosphere in the North Pole, it opens up. Subsequently, the ozone hole in the South Pole closes up because it's further away from the sun. It's not getting as much direct sun. In fact, in the summertime in the North Hemisphere, Wintertime in the south hemisphere, it's almost 24 hours of darkness during certain periods of time.
Isn't it sort of the opposite? On the northern pole, the ozone layer will thicken during the summer.
Well, that's what I meant. The
Yeah, you
ozone
said
hole.
it backwards. You said it backwards.
Well, I said the hole opens, so it's a bigger ozone. What they call the hole in the ozone.
Okay, the hole in the ozone, my understanding was where ozone disappeared.
Okay, then yes, I'm saying it backwards. Sorry, I'm sorry. I got it. Yep. You're right.
Okay, yeah, we
Bottom.
get a hole in the ozone at the South Pole during
Right.
its
Okay,
winter,
that's correct.
and a hole in the ozone at the North Pole during its winter.
Right. Okay, that's correct.
Yes.
You're right. But nevertheless, it is literally 100% driven by the sun, and the holes open and close seasonally.
Yep.
And that's something that they've never told us. And by the way, if you remember the ozone threat in the media, if you remember, what was that, early or mid to late 70s, mid early 80s?
Yeah, in that neighborhood, I forget exactly.
Has anybody heard anything about how much worse it's gotten since then?
Because of these ozone holes. Oh my God.
Do you remember? The holes are getting worse. The holes are getting worse. The ozone is getting worse.
Yes. Yep.
Right. So that was 30 fucking years ago. Has anybody heard anything about the ozone lately? No.
It's like the inconvenient truth. By now we should be like somewhere 7 to 10 degrees warmer than we are.
And
but it's the same scare tactic.
Yep, and 30 feet underwater.
Yes.
Yeah. Al Gore told me I was going to be dried to a crisp. And Ontario was going to be a desert by now, and the lakes would have dried up.
Yep.
I'm not buying none of it. Their statistics are bullshit. Their science, their papers are bullshit. Like the paper we looked at tonight, the graphs were bullshit. Their correlation does not equal causation. Science fucking papers that they write are bullshit.
Yep.
They're lying fucking bastards from head to toe, and I'm sick of it.
Yes.
You know, I've never changed my opinion on these things. You know, I went and saw an Inconvenient Truth when I was in high school, and we all come back to class, and everyone's like, "Oh well, Gandalf, what do you think we should do? Because you're the big environmentalist in the class." Like I was like a pothead, like hippie type kid, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can all picture young Gandalf. And so I just said, what we need to do is start planting trees. And everyone's like, ha, 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 ha. Like they can't comprehend that trees will eat up the pollutants from cars. It will bring the wildlife back. You know, that's the main thing, and that's always been what I've been about, is saving the actual environment. And
you know what one of the best plants is for helping the environment? Cannabis.
Oh yes, that's true.
We should be planting our cannabis. Plant them seeds, baby.
Yeah, well, George Washington said that.
Well, it doesn't work when you smoke it, Amy. It just reverses the effect.
Well, George Washington said cannabis is an amazing plant. Sow it everywhere.
Yep. Yep.
He even had part of his plantation growing pot. Same way at Monticello with Thomas Jefferson.
Yep. So you have to see that it makes it very clear that we've got this plant that does so much good for us in so many ways. And it makes it easier to understand how propagandized people are when you realize that this wonderful, probably the best plant on this planet, has been so demonized. And I'm just very grateful that more and more people are going, wait a minute. No. this ain't right. But for a while there, man, the reefer madness, bullpucky, oh my God, that wasn't even close to
Language.
What, bullpucky?
Yep, we don't appreciate that kind of language around here. It's a family show.
That's right. I'm sorry. Anyway. You know, it's like, oh my gosh. This world is so upside down from what it should be. And again, I'm going to say a solution to this would be to get rid of the tool they have to do it with, which is money. Accounting for our human energy. And I don't care whether we're talking trade, barter, work exchange, all the way up to bills and coins and electronic bits. It's archaic, we don't need it, and they hide the technology to get us away from accounting for our own energy. They want their slaves.
Well, the rulers of this planet will kill you before they let that happen.
Well, they may or may not, but I'm going to keep going on my mission. I will go, and death will not release me, damn it.
Guys, it's been a good talk. Gandalf, anything
Well,
else?
yeah, plant a tree, grow your own garden. That's how you can save the world, not paying some fucking ridiculous carbon tax.
And pick up your fucking trash, for Christ's sakes.
Love always.
Because honestly, if we're talking about the environment, like Gandalf said, it's something that I've railed on since the beginning. And I've like Gandalf said, I've taken flack in comment threads where people are talking about global warming and climate this and climate that. And I'll usually reply something like, the sun drives everything. The polar ice caps on Mars are melting, and that's probably not because of the SUVs. So the least we could do is clean up the fucking environment with the pollutants and stop polluting the air, the water, the food, the soil. And I get a lot of flack from people. They're just like, my climate, my carbon footprint. And people just don't fucking get it. This place is toxic. And I walk nature trails when I go out hiking and camping or on the beach. And I always take 2 bags, one to pick up dog shit because I walk my dogs, and another bag and I always come home or back to the camper with a bag full of fucking trash when I'm out on a trail or on the beach. I just pick up when I see a piece of plastic, I pick it up. Because I just can't stand to fucking walk past it. So pick up your fucking trash, people. Be good to each other and pick up your fucking trash. Amy, Gandalf, final thoughts.
I would say, look up some gardening videos, plant some trees, learn how to compost yourself. So, you don't need to buy dirt. You don't need to buy all the vegetables anymore. You can save a lot of money. I know that the world revolves around it. So think about all the money, people, you can put in your pocket if you just get a little green thumb going. That's all I got to say.
There was something that Influence said a minute ago that I wanted to shout out. Where did it go? Did I scroll too far too fast? There was something that Influence said. It's up here. Headline on Fox as we speak: Dems rage against meat and plastic straws instead of economy. And that was I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes ago. But I skipped over it. I wanted to shout that out from something Influence typed in the chat. But yeah, man, it was like right on target, right on topic. So there it is. Thanks everybody for joining us, and hopefully we'll be back next week. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be. Influence Freedom will be joining us sometime soon. I'm not sure if it'll be next week, and if it is, we're going to be working on a astrotheology presentation. It's going to be a ground-up presentation. We're going to start with the basics for a lot of people. It's an introductory to astrotheology, and we're going to focus on the important aspects of astrotheology, and we're going to show people what to focus on and what to stay away from, and particularly the woo-woo aspects of astrotheology, because there's a lot of people out there peddling a lot of woo-woo in this realm. And so hopefully I can get Influence on next week. She's really busy, and she's got a lot coming up, so it may not be next week. But who was it? La Solis, he mentioned geomancy. That's actually a good topic, and it's something that I can speak to, Amy can speak to, and I think Gandalf can also speak to. and with very little research, because I'm already prepared on that subject. So maybe we'll do a geomancy next week if we can't get influence to do astrotheology. But I'm looking forward to these new a couple of upcoming topics, and hopefully we'll get a show next week. And thanks everybody for being here. And with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and shut her down.
Love always.
All right, you guys. Once again, be good to each other and pick up your damn trash. See you next time.